My father was Joseph Wilbert Merson. He had one sister and one brother, Charles and Annie. My mother was Ida Mae Link. She was an Arbutus resident, grew up in Arbutus, but then lived most of her life on the Washington Road.
Right. And then you were born in November of 1924.
Yes, sir.
And your father worked for the B&O Railroad.
Yes. Right after his graduation from 6th grade, he went in, lied about his age, and applied at the B&O, was taken immediately and made an apprentice to the tool and die industry. He went up through that and worked for 49 years at the Mount Clair shops, became supervisor of tools and machines for the whole area. They sent him out as a troubleshooter along the B&O Railroad when there was a problem, up all the way up to Western Maryland.
And of course, you had that long career as a teacher. And as
42 years.
And as a principal.
30 years.
Right. Now, I understand that when you became a principal, what year were you appointed a principal?
1956.
Okay. And you were one of a very few women.
Yes, sir. When I was made principal, there were about 75 schools in Baltimore County. Today, there's 125.
Okay.
At that time, there were only about 6 women principals, and they were all age 60 or above. I was 30.
Wow.
So it was very difficult to go in as a woman.
And as a young woman, I would assume.
And as a young woman. And I followed Mary McGuigan at Lansdowne, who retired after 36 years as principal of Arbutus. And I came in at age 30, 31 as principal. And of course, fools walk in where angels fear to tread.
30 years old, you're the youngest principal, you're one of the few female principals. Did you have a hard time being accepted by, we'll call, the old boy network?
No, they really accepted me.
Oh, good.
I got in and I went to meetings with the guys. I was elected secretary and then assistant vice president and then president of their association. And I was accepted easily by them.
Was this after you got your DED or no?
I had my master's degree when I went to Arbutus.
Okay.
And got my doctorate soon after, 1961.
Now, wasn't that rare in the time for either a male or a female principal to have a doctorate?
Yes.
In the 50s and 60s?
Yes, yes it was.
Were you one of a few, or you don't have many?
One of the few.
There was just a few of you?
Yes.
And were you somebody that maybe you also played a part at some point in your career in the Board of Education, or no? Were you ever on the Board of Education in Baltimore County?
No, sir.
No.
But I taught for the University of Maryland in Baltimore City, and also for Loyola, and for Goucher, and for Johns Hopkins on occasion.
So you taught some college courses?
I taught college courses as needed.
Oh, okay. And so you didn't have any tenured status in any of those schools?
Didn't want it.
Okay. You were visiting professor, or?
Yes,
That's what
on
it was.
call.
On-call professor, gotcha. And what was your specialty? What was the topic, that you liked, was what you liked to teach, or was your thing,
How to teach social studies in the elementary school.
Okay.
How to teach arithmetic in the elementary school.
Now, when you're teaching the children, though, did you also, were you a general teacher? Were you the 4th grade teacher, or were you the English teacher or the writing teacher?
I graduated from Towson. My first assignment, they wanted to put me at Towson, and I said no, I wanted to be back down in the Southwest. He said there's one position, it's Baltimore Highlands. So I went to Baltimore Highlands and met Mr. Fitzell, and he said, we're glad to have you. You're going to have a class of 40. Oh. I thought, I can handle that.
Okay.
There are going to be 30 6th graders and 10 7th graders. The 7th graders are a little slower. I thought, all right, I can take care of that. And because you're filling in for the teacher that just left, you're going to be our cook.
Oh, okay.
I can't cook. He said, you'll learn.
Huh.
I do the menus, I order the food. Every day at 11:30, you leave your class, you come down to the downstairs below where your room is. I'll watch your class for you. You just give them a written assignment, and you get everything ready. We'll have soup, sandwiches, and they can buy ice cream. And government pruins, they're always on the table.
Okay.
I'll get a mother to come in and get things started, but you're in charge. So for 5 years, I cooked.
Amazing. They didn't have the lunch lady, they had you.
That's right.
Oh, amazing.
And I taught.
Amazing. Now, before we cap the educational part, because I want to go back to some of the other things, that you also, what was about, you were the head of all the principals in the United States?
At one point.
And can you explain a little bit about that, about what was the official title or the thing that you campaigned?
President of the National Elementary School Principals Association. After holding offices in Baltimore County, I then worked as president of the Maryland Principals Association. And that brought me up to being nominated to be on the board for the Elementary Principals Association. And then I decided to run for president because the principals kept asking me to run. So I ran against a guy from Arkansas nationally, and I beat him. It was every member had a vote.
Right.
I took 36 states.
Terrific.
Out of 50.
Very
I guess
good.
might be 49 at that point.
Right. But that was Merson was the person.
I used that slogan.
Yes.
And they had fun with it at Lansdowne Elementary School because that's where I was at the time.
Right.
I had served as vice principal of Lansdowne in 1946 to 1950.
Okay.
And then I was sent to Campfield as an assistant principal, and then came back to principal of Arbutus, and then moved to principal of Woodmore for 11 years, until I came back to Lansdowne as principal for 9.
And is that where you ended your career?
Yes, I ended my career there because I knew I couldn't do that and take over the job of being president of the National Elementary Principals.
Your father was with the Lansdowne Volunteer Fire Department. And that
Yes,
was
sir.
From when to when, or roughly when to when?
At the early 1900s
Until?
to 1924 when I came,
Okay.
and then he left that.
You mentioned, and you were the first person that told me that you remember as a child that Mr. and Mrs. Roosevelt did come to Lansdowne.
Yes, I remember people talking about it.
Okay.
They were very excited about it.
Including your parents, or?
Oh yes,
Okay.
everyone was.
Okay. And you don't know if it was a special event or anything that they
I
came
have no
for?
idea why they came.
Okay. But along with that, when we were on the phone one day, you told me you also remember Grand Army Days.
Yes, sir.
And you went to those,
As
gatherings?
kids, we all went and watched
the parades?
the parade. Yes, sir. How they got off the train and how they marched up to the Christian church.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you also then go to the events at
No.
the Christian church? You didn't?
No,
Just the parade part?
just the parade part. We watched.
Oh, okay. Because, I mean, I want to know about the people who actually maybe met some of the veterans or something. But that was just a big thing every May for when
Yes,
you were
sir.
when you were a child. Tell us about how World War II affected the Lansdowne community, or in what way it did.
World War II had with it a lot of rationing, and that affected all of the people in Lansdowne. They were limited in what they could get, what they could serve, what they could bake. They were limited in what they could buy. You were limited on shoes, clothing, sugar, flour. So that affected a lot of the mothers in Lansdowne.
And also, I guess, a lot of the local boys went off to war.
They all went off to war.
Right.
And the Sink-and-Brink boy did not come back.
No, I understand. And also, there's another one at in your church. There's a commemoration to a gentleman, George, is it Greshel or something like that?
Grimshaw.
Grimshaw, that's it.
And George Grimshaw was captured by the Germans. He could speak German because his parents were German, and he was acting as a spy, I think, for our side and translating things back to us. But when he was captured, it was rough.
Right. I understand that he was born in Germany, came over here, fought for the United States, and they say was killed maybe within a mile or two of where he was born.
I don't know about that.
That's what I was told. And wasn't his father a barber?
He was an excellent barber, right there on Elizabeth Avenue.
And I understand that in his shop people remember a lot of cuckoo clocks, or a lot of clocks anyway, in his shop.
Yes, he did.
Oh,
My father went to him all the time.
oh, so that was your father's barber.
That's right.
Oh, very good. And in World War II, I guess the trains, did troop trains come through too and all that?
Oh, sure.
All the time? Yeah.
Yes, sir. They were right on schedule.
Now, were you the kind of principal that people said, oh, I don't want to go to the principal's office? Were you
I ran a
feared?
tight ship.
You were feared.
Sometimes you need a little bit of fear.
Yeah.
I ran a tight ship.
I bet you.
Kind but tight.
Well, that's good. So let's see what else I may have. I don't want to skip anything. You were involved also in a lot of other boards and community service. I wanted the story you shared with me on the telephone. I'd like you to say here too about somehow you were involved with. They wanted you on some kind of board at St. Clement's.
Yes, when I was appointed principal of Lansdowne Elementary, the Board of St. Clement's called and asked if I would please serve with them. They needed some guidance on educational issues. And I thought, well, why not? So I went down to meet with them, and we had opened the meeting with the Lord's Prayer, and finally everybody stopped and I continued. Because with the Lutheran Church, you do continue, you don't stop. And I looked up and I said, I knew you weren't ready for me. You don't pray long enough. Well, St. Clement's did not appreciate that.
So I guess you didn't get on the board then.
Oh, yes, they kept me on the board.
They did keep you.
And enjoyed it.
That's good. Now, so what made you, a doctorate in education, say, I want to stay here? It's like a lot of people, even small communities, probably even around Hanover, when they get about 18 or 20, I want to get out of this burg and I want to go someplace bigger.
Oh, I love Lansdowne. Lansdowne is a very friendly, warm community. I enjoyed it. Finally, I decided it was just too much work to take care of my house, and at that point I had another house that I owned behind me, and to do the grass cutting, etc. And I just decided it was better to move into a retirement community.
Right, but it was a beautiful place to live then. Everybody was friendly, and it really was, put the big C there, it was a community.
It was community.
Like I say, our little village. It was like a village.
It still was when I left it.
Right. Have you been back since you've come up here?
No, I haven't. When I left, Shorty Miller lowered the flag, literally.
Oh. See, the community was in mourning.
And he didn't think I'd ever move.
But at least you're still here to tell us those stories. And I thank you for sharing those with us.
You are welcome.